Welcome, I'm Will, the Nerdy Nerf Herder. Today we're going to be doing some more on our Pokopia Museum. Before we get started with that, though, I did want to make a special announcement in honor of May the 4th, this Monday at 1 p.m. EST. I will be doing a stream with a brand new playthrough of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the original Xbox game reproduced on the Nintendo Switch. I hope you'll join me for that. We'll try to do that as much as I can throughout the afternoon. We may take a brief pause for dinner and then even come back and do some more on the game. And I think this will become a regular kind of Monday afternoon stream for me until the game is beaten. So I hope you will join me for that next little venture. And then our evening streams will continue to be just chill building time with Copia for now. So before I get started, there was one minor change that I made to the museum building while I was away from the stream, and I promise it's not much. We'll jump right into it here with the security camera footage right now. So down along the bottom, you can see where I put four little holes on one side and four little holes on the other side. And that's just me trying to make sure I get the spacing right for our doors. So that will be just a placeholder until I get the doors put in there, which we can do tonight. So right now, we'll kick back. And as I said, I will be doing KOTOR on Monday for that 1 p.m. stream. I hope you all can join me for that. So I'm going to try not to do too much conversation about Star Wars tonight. I know I did a little bit yesterday as we started the May season. It's always Star Wars season for me. So I apologize if it was too much Star Wars when we're playing Pokopia. So we've got our doors that are going to be right here. So we are going to go ahead. I believe they are 3 high. Go ahead and erase these blocks. And we've got these iron doors here. Yeah, yes. So we want to make sure we're placing it with that. Alright, and those will auto do that. Last time I talked about the console wars. I talked about the influence of various character arcs on the storyline and how ideas get repeated. I know Pokemon is one of those games that everybody is always like, everything is repeated. The formula is you get your starter from the professor that's a fire, water, or grass type. And then you go and you beat 8 gems and fight the evil team, become the champion. And that has been largely the formula for many a years for the company. Spoiler alert, we're working on the fossil exhibit, first one tonight. As you'll notice that in my inventory. And then Sun and Moon came along. And they really started to shake up the formula with the trial system, hoping to get something a little bit different than the same boring formula they've been doing for years. But at the same time, that same boring formula was a comfort for a lot of gamers. They became accustomed to the formula. It's what they expected from a Pokemon game, which meant that they didn't expect any big shakeups in the story. They didn't expect that much from the game other than a fun, relaxing playthrough of a JRPG that wasn't going to be too challenging, with cute little monsters and cool looking monsters. And of course, then you also had your very ugly looking ones that are somehow still cute. I'm looking at you, Snubble and Grapple. And I have to admit, even though he's just a pile of rubbish, I have found a new love for Trubbish. since the release of Legend ZA. Just some of the animations that they gave Trubbish, like when you're on the streets and you happen to pass by one, like they run towards you to greet you. They're just like so happy to see you there. And I love that. But the formula wasn't changing. And you had the fan base kind of split, where you wanted those who wanted it to stay the same, and you had those that wanted to see something a little bit different than the 8 gym badges, evil team. And that's kind of how we ended up in the position that we were in with Sun and Moon. That Pokemon Company was like, fine, you want to see something that's not that standard 8 gym formula. So they gave us the trial captains and the totem Pokemon, and they gave us an evil team. But the evil team was just a shell corporation for a big corporation who was doing some not so great things. And admittedly, the president of Aether Corporation was quite insane in her quest to discover a Ultra Beast. So what we're doing here is we're setting up for Aurora's habitat. We're going to set up this tundra fossil here. Oh no, I may need more ice than that, but we're gonna delete some of this. I think what we'll do is we'll take it from here and let one side hold it for now. I could make it floating. I don't think we need to make it floating though. The next thing I want to do is add some height in here. Alrighty, so that's the last of that ice. That's fine. Down to 1. And then there's not snow in this game, much to my lament. Now remember to pull it out of the... There we go. I may need to make some more of this. Yeah, we're going to make some more of that. I think I want Aurora to sit a little higher. I think we're going to go there. And then I'll know we're going to put some icicles up here. For this icy habitat for Auroras. And then... So we're getting the line up right. There we go. I want to make sure nothing's interfering with where I'm putting. Yes. Alrighty, so we need to build in around Aurora just a little bit. Now, we don't have a ground icicle, but I want to use some of these crystal clusters. Put those in here. And that gives it a kind of a glow. Alrighty. Now let's make some more rough wall. And paint it white. So Pokemon changed up the formula. And the fan base had mixed reactions, as were expected, because, you know, fans are fans. We know everything that Game Freak needs to do for the franchise, and we know what we want, and there can be nothing wrong with what we want, and GameStop delivered exactly what we asked for, and we didn't like it because it wasn't what we wanted. What we wanted was something different that shook up the formula. Just not the way they chose to shake up the formula. And I think that's a testament to how toxic some of the fan base can be. And I think it is something that, as a community, we should address. There's a lot of decisions that Pokemon makes that I can 100% agree are bad decisions. For example, the limits that are in this game. I think I understand that Minecraft has a very different graphic style, but I also understand that Minecraft has fewer limits than Pokopia does. And that's worth mentioning. With it being an older game designed for an older system, to work with an older system. Um, for it to have as many limitations as it does, Pokopia is kind of a little rough around the edges in that sense, and I hope they update the game and maybe expand on those limits now that the fan base has discovered those limits. And a lot of people have been posting about how those limits have affected the plans for their builds. For example, for me, the volcano build was something that had to be completely restructured, and I had to remove electricity items from it if I wanted to be able to put electricity in the museum. So with this latest Sable event, I have managed to replace all of my lanterns in there, and now it's largely electric free. There's still a few areas that I kept electricity in the volcano, and also that way I can bring power here. So we're going to place more of this rough wall painted white. I was trying to find something that would give somewhat the texture of snow, and this is about the closest I could get and feel comfortable with it for what I wanted. We're going to put that. We're going to make it right around here. And that is our Aurora's habitat so far. Some actual stone down here. I feel like we need to raise this one more block. I have an idea. I want it to look more like it's coming out of an icy cave. Alrighty. I think as fans, having standards is a good thing. We should hold the company accountable for glitches. Scarlet and Violet was a glitchy mess. Was it some of the most fun I've ever had playing a Pokemon game? Absolutely. When you blended in the open world with the gyms and the totem Pokemon, trying to find that kind of pathway, even though they didn't make it truly like open world in the sense that you could stumble into any gym at any time and go against the gym leader, and that gym leader's team scaled towards whatever your team was. They didn't do it that way. But that was the way fans wanted the most, I think. And that, again, the fans know what we want, but we're not always the best judges on things. I think that needs to be one higher. So I want to do... There we go. Like it's coming out of an ice cave, almost. There we go. I think that will work for our start. For our Aurora's habitat. Alrighty. Now we've got some of the walls filled in. Let's fill in some more. I know I want to have a high ceiling on this, so we definitely want to go higher than what it is. I've been debating on whether or not I'm going to do 2 floors, and I think doing 2 floors in the wings is a bit much, especially since I'm wanting to do kind of like a wandering walkway with walls to kind of display certain things in this section of the wing. And then I'm going to have an area that's going to be coming off this section here, like I said, with that cafe and greenhouse combination. I don't know why I love building greenhouses so much. I just they end up being some of my favorite buildings in this game to make. I have made a couple, though I have torn down most of them, with the exception of the one that I've got on the volcano island here. So where I'm not 100% sure where I want to put the back entrance, once we get here, I'm going to stop with that. And we're going to go this way. And we're going to mirror it on this side for now. And leave that kind of open. So that way, what I have to destroy later to adapt into our build won't be quite so difficult. But yes, fans always know best. And we cannot be wrong, except when we're absolutely wrong. And Game Freak got a lot of flack for saying that they don't listen as much to what the fans want, because they feel that if they delivered on what the fans asked for, that it wouldn't be a playable game, or one that they felt like they was developed to their liking. Alrighty. So I think we're going to go this for the base ceiling height. So for right now, in this section, we're going to line some things up here. Alright. That'll help me there for gauging. And we'll go ahead and we'll go around the interior wall here with our marble. I do want to do that. So let's get that piece out of storage. So Wind and Waves is coming, and we know that Pokemon Company is pushing it back to 2027 instead of doing it on the anniversary year like a lot of people thought they were going to do, especially since they had the Terra leak. And I think they're making the right judgment call here. They had the Terra leak, and that did make things a little bit more interesting for the company in some respects, because all of a sudden we had all of this information out there about Game Freak's plans and the Pokemon Company's plans for the future. We had a lot of various games, like Legends ZA was pretty much completely built. Even this game, Pokopia, had areas built. And in fact, rumors are now circulating that there were areas in Pokopia that were missing from the base game that were in the Terra leak. And we're not talking like, areas they put some thought into and weren't fully developed. We're talking fully developed areas. And those areas are now being rumored to be coming as a DLC. And I think that is a wise strategy for the Pokemon Company in some respects. And yes, it's a cash grab. I get it. That's what a DLC is, unless they release it as a free DLC. And at this point in time, given the fact that this is the world that we live in, I don't expect them to be like, hey, here's a free DLC like they did for Legends Arceus. Legends ZA got an expansive DLC and they charged about $30 for that. Scarlet and Violet got a fairly large DLC, and they charged almost $40 for that. So I do expect that a DLC for Pokopia, despite the price we've already paid for the game, will have a price window that appropriately fits the content time. And given that we know that there is Cinnabar Island, and that they did a Viridian Forest, we know about Lavender Town. They did something themed around the tower in Lavender Town. And these were all in the Terra League. So, as expected, I think Pokemon Company will bring a DLC and bring some of that content in. The original business strategy plan was to go episodically and each area be introduced by itself, according to the Terra League originally. And I think that is something that is worth considering. I think Pokopia has the potential for expansion. I would hate for them to abandon the idea that they have brought forth in this game. I think it has a lot of potential for future games, even if you do DLC that brings us through the Kanto region the entire way. I think if we go ahead and look at it and say, hey, what if we do another Pokopia game in another region? You know? We talk about the Weather Trio playing, or the Kyogre having a role in this game. Every time Kyogre shows up and makes the rain. That he had been asleep in the ocean for so long. Environmental changes is what defined what happened to the world of Kanto that we know, for Pokopia. And we know that with Winds and Waves, that same environmental storyline is supposedly going to be present, or at least influencing the events of the game. Pokopia, it is said, kind of was originally intended as part of the next game, and then they didn't realize it's its own game. And they stuck with Kanto region for that. With this post-apocalyptic world, I think there's potential for others. That is not marble. Well, thankfully with Magnemite's power, we can swap that out. And that's what I get for not paying attention to what I'm building, too. Sorry about that. We'll get that swapped out. And that's what I love about building after letting the credits roll. I know my other areas are underdeveloped compared to a whole lot of other people. And I see that more as a challenge because right now, with the way things stand, I am set up where this building will pretty much be the last major installation of my pallet town. And I know I still got a lot of area to work with on this island here, but I think I'm largely going to set up like natural areas, maybe do a camping ground area somewhere over in that area by the beach. I think that would be kind of cool, especially since we got all these camping equipment in the most recent update. I did not notice that really gold sparkle. And now all I can think of is James Woods. Alright, here we go. Ooh, piece of candy. So, I think the environmental lessons that we've seen in Pokopia, if it is truly something that was intended to be a part of Winds and Waves, we're going to see some of this formula again in some respect. The storyline elements, the idea that, because like even in the Galar region, when we had the introduction of Galarian Corsola and its evolved form Cursula, which was a rock ghost type, when the original Corsola is rock water. It was because of the death of our coral reefs. The fact that industrialism brought around change to the environment. And I mean, this is nothing new. Scientists have been telling us this as long as I've been alive. And whether you believe it or not does not change facts. And science defines facts by tested theories that cannot be disproven, that they believe they have proven beyond a reasonable doubt to be proven true. And I think some of the things that people forget about is science is also constantly changing. So if science is constantly changing and updating its views on things, the idea that, oh, well, science changed its mind about this, it was wrong all along. Well, yes, it was wrong, but it was right as we understood it at the time, and now we have new evidence. So new evidence suggests this, we work with it. That's how the scientific process works. And I think with Winds and Waves, we're going to see a touch of that environmental message again. In Pokopia, the world came to be the way it is because of human interaction with the environment. We don't know the full catalyst. We don't know every little detail, and the game doesn't need to give us that. I think the idea of human influence being the catalyst is enough. I really don't think we need more. I do think that with as expansive as it's supposed to be from the leaks for Wind and Waves, we should be able to see some sort of environmental influences. And that's supposed to be the big thing on this game, is weather. That's what all the leakers keep saying. And I think they're not wrong to think so. So, as you can see here, we're starting to put in windows. I'm using these simple pane windows for now. I'm thinking we're going to use some stained glass windows in other places. We'll see the effects from the front here in just a moment. Have a couple of other little tailorings I want to do with this, so... I imagine it would have made more sense to actually clear the window spots on this side first, but we'll get there. Alright, we don't need the glass right now. And I think if Game Freak shies away from the environmental messages, it is a lost opportunity in this time. It is a message that I think people very much need to hear. Our world is changing, and that can bring out catastrophes for our race if we're not careful. Alright, so what we're going to do here is I can't Magnemite swap these out, sadly. But I wanted to see how it would look if we do this right here. We'll do that. I think we'll do it through the entire bottom here. And I'll fix it on the other side here in just a moment. And then we're going to do this. And delete these. Naturally. Hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you, thank you. Twitch Knowledge. Thank you for joining us. Alrighty. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to pull out some of the column pieces, and we're going to play around and see which one we like the best. Kind of finish off these windows here. Alright. So we've got extravagant pillars. But yeah, I don't believe that science is politics, just to be clear. I think sometimes politics has a way of muddling science. Uh, and I do believe that there should be some regulations to science to make sure things are kept ethical. But I feel like science is something completely independent. And because it's the world of facts, we need to remember that and treat it as such. Alrighty, round pillar milk. Little bit. We've got that effect there. I like that. Or we can go with the extravagant pillar. Feel free to comment in the chat which one you think might be better. We'll kind of zoom out here and take a look here. I think the round is a little more subtle. It blends in with the marble on the behind a little bit. I don't think it pops quite as much as the extravagant pillar with the square pillar set. So I think we're going to stick with the square for now, unless the chat thinks otherwise. So yeah, I hope Winds and Waves, with its late launch in 2027, and that's the rumor that I've heard, is that it will be late in the year that it launches, and I'm okay with that. The Terra leaks brought out a lot of information, and I'm sure the leakers are going to go nuts in between, and Game Freak is going to be upset, and they're going to do their best to handle it. And I think it will be okay. I really do. I think if we look at it objectively, they are taking more time for the game. They want to bring a quality game to us. They want us to see something in it that we enjoy, that we asked for, but at the same time didn't ask for. They want a new experience. And I can definitely tell that with this first trailer, they're trying to give us the quality of product that Scarlet and Violet was not. And that is a non-glitchy release title. And I think giving developers the extra time to let them create true art is the way to go. I don't think I may be wrong, and some people may disagree with me, and everybody's entitled to their own, but I definitely feel that we can sorry about that. I messed this up for what I wanted to do. We need to get rid of this here. So I'm starting on the roof here, and I don't want a classic roof for this museum. I don't want that square monstrosity that I had before. I want something a little more unique. A little bit more rich. So we're going to change up the shape in the center here. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start to zigzag. And then we're going to fill in the space side of the zigzags. Alrighty. First, I want to get at least the final bits there placed. Alrighty, so I'm probably going to swap out the blocks here for the ceiling a little bit later and make it, you know, we're already going to go ahead and swap some of this to marble. Because right there is a problem to me. There we go. So I'm low on marble, but I've got plenty of the stone tiling so we can get the effect I'm after. So 2, 4, okay. Pardon me while I look at my notes here. Alright, we are doing 5 points. Place mode. So, well, I apologize here. I'm looking at my notes for the build. I want to make sure that we get this looking right here. So we're going to come out. Well, that will get filled in. That's part of the fill-in area, so... I apologize. I want to make sure I get the count on this right, because that will affect our dimensions here. If I don't. There we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put that lined up on the other side. So I was off by 1. So we'll fix that. It don't take too long. And it's funny, I said I wasn't going to talk a whole lot about Star Wars. But I think that's another fandom that has a lot of, we want what we want, and we won't be happy unless it's exactly how we want it. And I hate that, because that does limit the franchise. There is a level of creativity that is blocked off by the fans' mind of how things should be. Alrighty. I think we need to do one more block. I forgot to accommodate some preliminary changes in the build with my notes here, so I apologize for that. But it's important to be adaptive with these kind of things. Get it looking nice. that is better. Yes, better. Alrighty. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so we'll go out. And then yep, that should be it. Yep, that was it. Alrighty. Wonderful. So we've got that area plotted out. And so the rest of the ceiling here, go ahead and plot that in. And I reserve the right to change the ceiling block still. I'm not 100% sold on keeping it the same here. But I have some ideas on some stuff here. So we're not out of the woodwork yet. On this build. Oh no, we don't want to be down that. Let's fix this. And I see some of the area I forgot to fix earlier with the marble. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to need to grind out some more limestone for some more marble. It takes 4 limestone blocks for 10 marble, so... But I think that's something I can do this tomorrow and get it knocked out in a hurry. We'll fix that on the top. Now, any other areas I need to swap? Okay. Then we just do this, and back down. See, tiny little mistakes, nothing to get upset about. Easy fix. I wonder what Bob Ross would think of Pokopia as an art form or design. I don't know if he would call it an art form or not, but, you know, I think he would find it interesting. And I think that there are certainly things that the graphics do well of presenting and make for a visually appealing presentation. So, like, I think he would have thought it was cool. Alrighty, so I want to do something a little more than what we see here with this front. So obviously I've just tiled all of this area in, but I am not against doing a fake front here. And I think that's the way we should do this. Is make a fake wall, basically. That's going to be the front of the building. Alright. Do I have what I want on me for this next bit? I think so. Yes. So I think what we're going to do here on this fake front, I think we should definitely put the stained glass windows. I think that's what we're going to want here. I think I'm going to do 2 of them. I know, it's so counterproductive to delete the block right after placing them, but... and make sure I get the spacing right for what I want. Yeah. We'll do that. And then we'll put these archways here. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do there. So we'll need to make this a little higher for my effect that I want. And we're probably going to make another kind of fake offshoot of the wall off of this as well for the front part. But let's get these pillars. In place. Now this, we're going to need some roofing elements. We're going to do something a little different here. Try a little creative placement for an effect. Alright, we want the stained glass. Gargoyles, sure, you can come along. Gonna take that. Alrighty. Where are... Ah, it's wonderful. I already had them. Garden benches. And we've got 9. So we'll want the top of the pillar there. And then we're going to do... another ceiling piece here. Well, you know what? No. I think for this part of the build, we're going to use this protruding wall pieces. Which will almost look like it's protruding out into the columns. Well, yeah, as long as I don't double stack. But, yeah, I like that effect. And then we're going to do another line of them in the center. Maybe. No, I think we're good. I think we're good with that. Alrighty. Every museum's got a slightly triangular front there. So we're going to go behind it. And we're going to put some wall in. We're not going to go quite as high on the wall as we are. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. I'll fix these blocks here in a moment. I just want to make sure we get the right shape. Here, we want to do that. I think we can get rid of these. And then I'm going to delete this one. Get rid of that. And that. Start filling some of this in. Still kind of deciding how I'm going to fit the back of that. But I need blocks. We're going to go with ordinary soil. And we want 4 blocks. We're going to stick them right there. And then we're going to take this garden bench. And we're going to stick it right there. I'm going to delete these. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and let's place 2 more blocks on down here. And we're going to put this metal fencing in. And then one of these iron gates. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Alright. Now that we've got those placed, I'm going to bring up our iron benches again, turn them back around. I think we'll do one there. Do one there. Do we like the effect? Don't know that I like the effect like that. Let's go ahead and we'll put those like that for now. And then here's where our little buddies come in. There we go. I can dig that. Alrighty. Now to get some stained glass windows put into place here. Go ahead and we're going to put them in just kind of like the windows we did before, where they're a little bit recessed, so that way these columns cover part of it. I think we'll go with this for the bottom. We'll do one round like this. And then we'll do one like that. And then we'll finish it all with a double Pokeball. And then, let's see. I think the best way to cap this off might be, rather than using these, if we use the protruding wall and have them face outward. On each of the steps. I think that is the effect that I want. Yeah. I like that. Oh. That one was okay. Whoa. Push that one block back. So no, that wasn't okay. I was right to begin with. There we go. Don't mind me, I'm only slightly insane. There we go. And then, what we do here, I'll go ahead and delete this. Because whether or not this has anything of substance for now is irrelevant. We can always come back in and finish off the top. But I definitely think that having that false front one more back, I think this is where we're going to do the next for our front. Best way I can test this. So we're 3 blocks in. Without having to do anything, is let's take a look at our camera view. This is why we set up that security camera. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. I think we can work with that. I think that will work real nice. Yeah, let's roll with that. Alrighty. Ooh. We should set it up one more block forward. That way it properly lines up with that outer wall section. There, so let's go ahead and eat us a salad. You know what? Let's go for a quick demolition. Punch in time. That's faster. A little hop. Reminds me of playing Elden Ring. Some of the platforming in that. Which I am not the best platformer, so... I played the Jak and Daxter series for PlayStation 2. Had a blast with it. I played the Mario games. I've had a lot of fun with those. I beat Super Mario 64 in the days past. I've beat Super Mario Brothers Wii. Make sure we got that lined up. Yep, we got that lined up. Okay. And I've played my fair share of platformers. I am not good at platforming. I know my limits. Alrighty, so we're going to set the windows up at the same height here. So this is where our wing will be starting. So I think we can get 2 more false windows in there with the stained glass and have it look real nice. And then, of course, I'm placing blocks, and we'll delete blocks later. Alrighty. I just feel like we should delete this whole front edge in favor of the rough wall. Protruding wall. Yeah, we're definitely going to do it. This is definitely something that, while I have the grand scheme of how I kind of want, vision of how I want it, I'm definitely willing to adapt and work with this as we go along to make it a better version of what is in my head. Because already, when I was working on stuff, I was like, oh, maybe I should tweak this for the human habitat area. Kind of like how we sunk the Aurora's habitat. I'm not 100% sold on it now that it's built. I hope you like it, and I hope that it, once we finish doing the other ones, it ends up making sense and looking good. Alrighty, so what do you think? I think we do 2 more windows on each side. 2, 1, 2. But I think we go ahead do this as well. So that was the one effect I think I liked on the windows down below that I didn't duplicate here on these windows initially. Little wall damage. We'll be alright. A little wall damage. How do I like the spacing? No, there needs to be only one. There can be only one space. is it messes with that wall too much if we do it more than one space. But we are using these arch bridge pieces, so... it needs to be 2. But there's no way for me to get it. Out. Now, in theory, I could do this. We'll try this and see how I like that, and we'll get this front area built, and then we'll call it an evening. Alrighty. Stone tiling. Get my one more archway. And I think for these windows, we're just going to kind of mirror that same effect with the rotating in between the 3. So we want to come back here. We need to give it something to hold on to. We'll go with you. There we go. We get our nice frame here. And we got that building edge. And I think we can get away with that. I think we're gonna cut the building. We'll figure out the top of the building a little bit as we go along. I have to admit, that was one of the things that was definitely going to be my flexible point here. I think this is how we want to do this. Just mirror the pattern a little bit. Do one of each of these in these rows here. Bam. And then we'll take a look at that from the front. I actually kind of like that. I know there's not that space there. You know what? Yeah, I'm fine with this. I think I'm fine with how that looks. We'll go ahead and duplicate that on the other side. So come in here. We're on the same area. Yep. Naturally. So I figure once we get this done here, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining me as I work on this museum build. I hope you have enjoyed our time. I know I certainly have. And I want you to know that I appreciate you. You came here tonight and shared your time with me, and I really appreciate that. And in case nobody's told you, you matter in this world. And I think you need to hear that. I think we all need to hear that sometime. We all matter. And if you're out there struggling, I urge you, please get help. This world is difficult right now, and there is no reason why you should be alone in dealing with your problems. Reach out to loved ones. Find a therapist. If you need help, reach out to somebody. You are an important person in this world. Remember that. I know it's main character energy, but remember that. You are important. You share the night with me. You made my night brighter. So, if you're struggling, reach out. It's okay. We can get through this. Thank you for joining me on my stream tonight. And as we finish up this last little bit here, that will be the last project for the night here. We've got just a hair more to fill in, and then we'll be good. And I will leave you with the outside view of what we've got so far here. Last windows in. So I think this is coming along great. I hope you've enjoyed watching me build. I can't believe I put away those too soon. Alrighty. And now let's take a look at that camera. Alrighty. So that's what we've got so far for the front of the museum. I hope you like it. Thank you for joining me on this stream. I think we're going to call it an evening here. So, yeah. I like it. I think we still need to do some work on the front, obviously. The front area is a little boring still, and obviously where we've got a couple of window places here on this side, I definitely want to duplicate that on the other side and keep that within our spacing here. So, we'll get that figured out. I like, at a distance, how those benches turned out. They kind of give it a kind of a metalwork detailed up there in the archway. I think the best thing we can do on the areas right behind that triangle is I think we're going to do another couple of columns on the ends, framing, and then another two triangles to kind of frame the stained glass on the sides. And I may, hear me out, I may even tweak it, and we may, instead of having 2 stained glass windows on either side, I may put 1 stained glass window on either side and just make it a bigger stained glass window so that way it's a little more centered. I'll think on it. I'm sure I'm going to be looking at this quite a bit over the next couple of days as I go about my days. So, yeah. We'll work on this and we'll see how it goes. And we'll get this adjusted. Alrighty. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And see you next time. Again, we're doing our Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic stream on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'd love it if you join me for that. If you're able to make it, you can help me pick out some of the dialogue choices. I am not committing to an evil playthrough, but if the chat makes it an evil playthrough, well, that's, I guess, how we're playing the game. But hope you will join me, and that will be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, May the 4th, and our normal stream at 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday will still be going on next week, so make sure to turn in for those. Thank you for all your support, and have a wonderful evening.